Talking shit.
Welcome back to Talking Shit, a sports show presented by Sports Interaction, where we dive into the world of sports and talk about anything and everything except the actual games. I'm your host, Prince Huda, and I'm joined by a great cast of co-hosts. To my left, we have Sarah Pararia. Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited.
Good.
It's a big show. Not a lot going on in the sports world, but definitely enough to talk about. And we're also rejoined by Celine, all the way from British Columbia. Some tough weather, but she made it out. Celine, how are you doing today?
I'm alive. I'm well. I haven't gotten a car accident yet by all these BC drivers, so we're good.
Yeah, Celine was talking smack about you drivers out in BC before we started rolling, because apparently you don't know how to deal with the snow.
They don't know how to deal with the snow, and I will literally say that straight to their face. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh.
It's true.
Are they worse than Ontario drivers, you would say?
I don't think. Okay, you know what? BC people will even agree with me. Like, the good drivers will agree with me. The worst drivers in all of Canada, that's where they are, right here.
Wow.
In BC.
Wow. I also wouldn't have expected
Starting off
that.
hot.
Yeah, sorry. It's the truth. Take it or leave it. Like, you need thick skin.
I like it. I like it. Well, I mean, that's funny. Last time we had a good debate about hockey when it came to Toronto versus Vancouver. So starting off with that East Coast West Coast rivalry, I think is it's a great little dynamic we have on this show whenever you come on here.
Yeah, it's always fun. But hey, I'm still a Leafs fan at heart. Honestly, I've been watching their games when I come home from work, watching the recaps, and they hurt my heart. That's all I can say.
Let's dive into that. I mean, tough time. I mean, I've seen a bunch of your content on Sports Interaction about the Leafs struggles. 4 straight games, having a lead, blowing it at the time of recording. West Coast road trip. You always like the social media gauge on the Leafs. You know, it's usually pretty negative, but recently it's been very, very negative. I'm surprised you're sticking with them and not jumping to the Canucks. Want to get your take on what's going on with the Leafs and what you see is what's wrong with this team, really.
Honestly, I just think I'm always going to be a Leafs fan deep down inside. I feel like we all are. Like, everyone who's grown up in Toronto, we say we hate the team because they just do things that they shouldn't be doing, but like, we're still going to support them. We're still going to be behind them no matter what. Yeah, lots of my videos have been very much like, Leafs, you suck. But honestly, they're just making me mad, and they're making Leafs Nation upset. And I mean, I feel like it's getting close to the time where we have to hit that panic button. Like, we're nearing the end of the season soon. Playoffs are coming around the corner, and we're like hanging on right now. I'm starting to lose lots of hope, especially with all these games.
Losing hope. Oh, no.
I know. But like, we're blowing leads, and this is something that's not new. I mean, we see this year after year. We always blow the leads. I'll never forget, remember COVID when we were taking on the Montreal Canadiens? Do you remember that whole shit show?
The playoff series?
Go on to win, and then they went to go face Tampa in the finals.
Yeah.
Better believe your girl remembers that one.
I do remember that.
But it's nothing new. I mean, against Colorado, we were up 3-0, blew it. Again, against Edmonton, blew it. They just can't hold on to leads. And Sheldon Keefe really needs to take the reins in that and needs to just talk to the team. And in media, he's always like kind of sugarcoating everything. Like, we played good. Like, the last 8 games have been really good. Like, no, you guys have not been playing good. Address the media like so. Imagine if we had a guy like Torts. That's why I've always said we need a coach that's just tough, gets straight to the point. Sheldon Keefe kind of beats around the bush. And honestly, I don't know if we're going to see him around much longer.
I was going to ask, is it time to fire the coach?
I mean,
I don't know, like the star players, I feel like they're performing. Nylander's been a bit slow since the extension, but do you fire the coach that's gotten us farther in the playoffs, in the furthest coach to get us in the playoffs since 2003? Like, I don't know if that's the problem, because it feels like they keep pointing the finger at other people when the reality is that, the coach isn't on the ice. The team's on the ice blowing these leads. The defense is shaky. Goaltending's been a bit better recently, but I don't know if firing the coach is the right answer. Like, I think this is just a slump. You see not even just the Leafs or hockey, any sport, teams go through slumps. And
a slump.
I'd rather it happen now than in April.
A 60-year slump. Well, are you
We don't need to go that hard. I mean, like, right in this season.
That is crazy.
They're still in a playoff spot.
I
So,
can't, honestly. Like, this is so I feel bad for you guys, but it's an exhausting conversation because I hear you, Celine, but like it's every year. Every year there's a point in the season when this same storyline comes around and it's like I don't know how you guys deal with it cuz like I'm not even a fan and I'm just like, "Oh my god, this narrative is so fucking exhausting. Here we go again." It's a matter of when you're going to hit it in the season, right? I think you guys thought maybe this year it wouldn't be happening this early on, but cuz I mean the team is good, right? But it's just like I don't understand what is going like I feel like it needs a clean out from top to bottom at this point because like how has this team not done better from what you guys all say about how good these players are and you've seen that talent, you know, coaches coming in and out like the money is there, but every single time they hit this exact same wall. Clear the fucking house out. Clear it out.
Wow.
Clear it out.
I don't think they'll ever clear out the house top to bottom. That's just
because money coming in.
They won't do
they
it.
Care
but
about.
You might be right, but they won't do it. But you could be right.
They only care about money. They don't give a shit about whether they win or lose. They're making money, and that's what matters. It makes the world go round. It's crazy
because that's the amount of comments that you see too. It's like everybody keeps talking about the Leafs and saying like we express our concerns all the time, but then you also have a chunk of people that are like, you know, they signed their contracts, they got their money, they're good, they don't really care what happens. And I feel like that's something that's wrong with this team. I don't want to say it, but it's true. It's like there's just no passion to play anymore. It's just you're playing for the money. And also, just want to go back real quickly. Sheldon Keefe brought us to round 2. That's it. We have not gone far, and that was last year. We should be going away further than that, okay? Like, we should be making it to the finals. With the team that we've had, we should be going far. But the thing is we got no back end. We got no depth. We got no sturdy, like, stable players. Everybody's been playing very inconsistently, except for Nylander. Nylander, I'll give it to him. He's been playing amazing. But our back end, what's going on, Riley? Like, what is happening? That play when Edmonton won the game last couple days ago when they won 4-2 in the dying minutes. Why were you on the far side of the net, buddy? What? So it just anyways, there's just so much to be said. I'm just gonna shut up now, bro. I'm gonna get fired.
Well, I feel like the only person in this room that isn't surprised is Sarah. Like we talk about the Leafs almost every week, and she's kind of always on the point with like this. Just wait for it. Eventually, this bubble of hype and belief in this team is going to pop, and it seems like right now it's on the verge of popping. And you seem to have no surprise. You've said it before
on this podcast. What do they call it when you expect a different reaction after the same? What am I trying to say? You know what
I've heard this.
There's a term for this. You're right.
I think it's the insanity you're talking about. The definition of insanity is
but that's
expecting the shit to change, but it's never gonna change.
No, it's okay. You kind of butchered it there.
Doing the same thing over and over again.
Doing the same thing and then expecting things to change. The definition. Wow, it really took us a long time to get there. That was fucking tough.
Insanity.
But that's literally what this is. It's like every year, and like I get it, right? I'm not invested. Like I understand for you guys, it's like a completely different perspective. But I am the outside perspective, guys, and looking in, I'm like, oh my god, it's like just constantly running into a wall, and it's just like it's tough for you guys, but I don't know. It doesn't look good.
No.
Ever.
Doesn't look good. Surprisingly though, I feel like, despite fan, pandemonium, people on the outside, the betting odds are still Leafs are still a top 10 team to win the cup, still higher than the Canucks and the Jets. I know we talked last week about how good they've been doing in the Western Conference. Right now, the Leafs are still higher odds to win the cup than the Jets and the Canucks, despite being in a wild card spot. The Oilers surpassed them, and we were talking about this earlier. Oilers have the 3rd highest odds to win the Stanley Cup. They've been playing hot recently. So we talked about, will a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup? And the direction seemed to say, yeah, maybe it's Toronto, maybe not Toronto, maybe it's Edmonton.
You never know. I mean, it could be Edmonton this year. They've been playing really well all around. And we've always said, I've always said, this team is very dependent on Draisaitl and McDavid. And, that's why, they never go really far. But now they're, an all-around team. Fogel's playing good. McLeod, Ekholm, Bouchard, they're shutting down their opponents. If you take a look at their shots on goal each night, it's at least 3+ shots on goal for, all the players. It's pretty spectacular to see. And Stuart Skinner has been playing really well too. So I mean, I wouldn't not place my money on these guys right now, especially with their odds. They could quite frankly go all the way. And just going back to the Leafs odds every year are high to win the Stanley Cup. And then
that's true.
They just shit the bed every single year, because I think that's just so many people. That just goes to show you how much confidence we have in this team. Companies have in this team, and they just shit the bed.
I don't know if it's that. I'm wondering if it's more because, and I don't know. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I'm just curious. Is it because they think they're going to win, or is it because this is the biggest franchise in the NHL? They want to pump it because that's how, again, they're going to get money. And it's one of the OG6, right? So it's it's a old team. The history's there. They know the fan base is there. I don't know if if people really think this is the team that's going to win, the odd makers, how? You know what I mean? Logically, that makes no sense. But I kind of wonder, is it because that, the history is there of the franchise and the money is being brought in. So they're going to push Leafs because that's going to, fund the whole league.
I see what you're saying. A lot of people, we talked about don't bet on your favorite team because you already have emotion tied in. But a lot of people do bet on their favorite teams. And you watch the Leafs, some nights they look lights out. Last week, they beat the San Jose Sharks 7-1. So you see a team like that that's just loaded offensively.
How are the San Jose Sharks?
Hold up.
One of the worst teams, I want to say.
The Sharks used to be good once upon a time.
They have the highest or worst odds or best odds, I guess, to win the cup because they're the worst team.
But you can't compare that game to the Leafs, because they should be winning that game against San Jose.
Lean out here being the critical parent, being you should be doing this.
The way they dominate certain games, you sit there and go, well, maybe this team could make a run. Maybe this is the year.
Celine
and
has
you just
a point.
that's
you
why
can't
you
be
bet
out
on
here
it.
smashing the bottom of the table teams because you should be doing that anyways.
Yeah.
You can't this is how Delulu you are as the Leafs fan. Literally what you just said. You're going off them beating the worst team in the league, and you in your head, in your delusional head as a Leafs fan, you're I'm gonna take that and run. This is ladies and gentlemen, Prince Huda right now is just showing you how crazy Leafs fans are. That is, Celine's so right. That doesn't, no.
I didn't say that's why I think they'll win the cup. I said that's
you
why
said they were lights out against San Jose.
That's why people,
the worst team in the league.
People who aren't fans of the Leafs, to see them dominate like that, you go, oh shit,
Bro,
maybe this team can win the cup.
Good.
They can't. I don't think they'll win the cup, but I can see why you're saying why people might be higher on them than a team that's not on TV every night that not everyone's talking about. The Leafs, I would argue on social media, sports shows, talk shows, even this show, everyone talks about the Leafs. So they're such a popular team in the eyes of people who may not even watch hockey, but they know about the Leafs because of how much they're covered.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't make the rundown, ladies and gentlemen. It would not be my choice.
Leafs is content.
Talking about how they are always doing badly. But Celine, did you see what he just did?
Yeah.
I flipped it. I mean, we can talk about the Carolina Hurricanes every week if you guys want, but I mean, I don't see much of a there's not much to talk about. They're really good. Second highest odds to win the cup, and they might win it this year. There's not a lot to talk about there, but no, I think Toronto's chances to win a championship in hockey have doubled recently because of the start of the PWHL, the Pro Women's Hockey League.
I was confused on that one.
Me too. I was there?
Stop. Yeah.
Stop it.
Recently starting the Pro Women's Hockey League, brand new upstart league. It's been good. I think I've seen quite a few games. They're on TSN Sports, so they have the TV rights. They're doing a lot of stuff on social media. They have some stuff coming up with the All-Star game. With UFC in town, there are a couple fighters doing the ceremonial puck drop. So it seems like they're really starting to establish themselves, at least in Ontario, as a sport to watch. And I've watched some games, and I think it's pretty good. So I wanted to get a gauge if you guys have kind of checked it out or heard about it, and what you think it means for the sport of hockey to have a pro women's league, similar to what the men have with the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, I had to look it up. I'm not going to lie to you. I had no idea what the heck you guys were talking about. But I think that's great. Women's soccer is doing the same thing in 2025, which is huge. It's a little bit, disheartening when you're hearing that women's professional leagues are kind of only coming to fruition now. It's 2024, but better late than never, I think. So I think it's great. Hopefully they get a lot of traction. Hopefully it grows. Hopefully people follow the women's, leagues just as much as they do the men. I don't know how it works in hockey. I mean, I'm assuming the men's coverage is going to be better, but I mean, women's football is bigger in Canada than men's.
Yeah.
So maybe one day we can see that. But I mean, I can't say anything bad about this. It's a step in the right direction for sure. No, Celine?
No, I completely agree. And I wasn't allowed to play hockey growing up. My father was very
that's like the right decision, though. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. There's no chance my kids are playing hockey.
No, my kids are definitely playing hockey, but it's just my dad was more so because since he played, he was like, no, it's too aggressive. I don't want you getting your teeth knocked out and this and that. So I was just not allowed. But if I was, I would be ecstatic right now. Like, this is so big. This is so big for female hockey players.
For sure.
Have their own professional hockey league, because for so many years it's always been men's this, men's that. Like, men have been just put on a pedestal. And like, finally, like years later, the women are finally getting a voice and getting ice to actually skate on, and their careers don't just finish after university.
Yeah, that's huge.
They get to continue. They can make a professional career out of it, just like NHL players. And for all these little girls, if you watch clips of people posting TikToks and you see all these little girls with all these signs saying, when I grow up, I want to be a professional women's hockey player. And it's so heartwarming to see that finally this has happened.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's like, it's good for, you think about, like you said, representation. There's been women's leagues prior, but it seems like this one feels a little bit different in the sense that they're really trying to establish the connection with the NHL with some of the stuff they're doing with them and the cross promotion. They're doing, I think, a showcase of the Women's Hockey League at the NHL All-Star Game to try to give them that, massive exposure to that wider audience. So like you said, it's cool. And it's funny to hear you say that you weren't allowed to play hockey, because I feel like, just knowing you from the show and kind of the content you do, I'm shocked you're not a hockey player.
I know. I wish I was. I was a soccer player. Sarah. Woo-hoo!
Oh, look at that.
Cheapest sport. That's why the immigrants love it. Come on. There's no way my dad could put me in hockey. We didn't have money. Like, hockey is for rich people. Let's be serious. That's why soccer is the most beautiful game in the world, because anyone can play it anywhere. And I love that. Not like talking shit about hockey, but I just like, it is really like, it is such a small community because you can't afford like the equipment and stuff. Also, like, I'm not trying to have my kid walking around with CTE at the age of 30. So
yeah, they're doing a lot to prevent like kids getting hit like that, but you're right. There is
like some of these like and like NFL too. Like, I'm just
oh yeah, like, football's like, I don't know if I'd let
no, there's no football is not even in question. Like, that's but even hockey, it's like a little like, I don't know. It's it's dangerous. But yeah.
I used to play soccer too when I was like 4 or 5 and got kind of bored of it, and then I started skating and then hockey.
Oh, so that explains why you're a little.
No, I mean, I was never good enough to play contact, so this is all just my actual brain. So. Whether you like it or hate it. But getting back to the PWHL, best way to establish a sport with gamblers is to have betting odds for it. And fortunately, at Sports Interaction right now, you can bet on the PWHL. We're looking at the odds right now. Funny enough, Toronto has the worst odds to win the championship. They're in last place. So not much different than their male counterparts in the Maple Leafs. But
the Leafs are screwing over these guys now. What the hell?
There's only 6 teams, so, it's a bit easier to, climb the ranks. The odds are pretty close for each team. It's fairly new in the season, but hometown Toronto, hometown Hammer. I'll be hedging on the Toronto women's team and maybe a parlay with the Leafs, and that would be a nice little payout at the end of the season.
Nice. Yeah, great news for the world of sports and in hockey and just in general. That's great.
Awesome. I do want to talk just a little bit about the NFL playoffs. Celine, last time you're on here, I don't want to put you on the spot, but your New Year's resolution, you said, you remember this, watch more football. So I want to ask you, how's the football watching going? What do you like about the playoffs? What do you like going on here?
Yeah. About that. Have not watched yet.
At least she's honest. She's coming into 2024.
Accountability is important on this show.
Yeah, you broke your New Year's resolution like 2 days in.
Which one?
Didn't you have one that I think? I don't remember it now, but I think you came into a show and
I'm not on the hot seat here. Celine's on the hot seat.
Conor McGregor.
We'll get to that. There's actually a development here, but Celine, I do want to put you on the spot now. How's that football watching going?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. I've been fairly busy with other stuff going on in my life. Haven't really had the chance to sit down and watch a game of football, But I will say I saw TikToks and I saw that the Cowboys shit the bed. So I mean, now they're out, correct?
Yeah,
they
they're out.
always do.
We talked about on this show the Cowboys being the Maple Leafs of the NFL. Very similar scenario. Big, very high popular market team. Everyone thinks is going to win. This is the year. This is the year, and they get blown out in the first round of the playoffs. So it's actually very similar to the Leafs, as we've said on the show before.
Can we talk about that Buffalo game though?
The outdoor game?
No, like y'all are bonkers. Like this was different. Like I would not show up to that for money. Like that looked painful. Like people were showing videos of like their beers freezing and stuff, and I'm like, that's time to go home. Like this is dangerous now. Like for me, I'm just like, oh my god, it's no, that was crazy. I'm actually kind of shocked. Like for the fans are one thing, obviously, but the players, I'm just like, you guys are gonna get injured, and then if your team goes through, none of you are gonna be able to play. Like it's not conditioned, like it's not the right conditions for any sport, let alone like a really aggressive like contact sport where you're hitting each other. Like you know how your bones and your muscles are in the cold. I don't know. To me, I was kind of shocked it happened, but it was gross.
I feel like some places, especially like Buffalo, should have an enclosed dome. Like, come on. It's Buffalo. This is something that happens year after year. Like it always snows like that. The snow there is disgustingly high, and people still go out to watch the games. That's just crazy football fans. But like it should be enclosed by now. Like if you're playing in like Dallas, sure, that's like different. If you're playing like in Florida, that's so different. You don't need an enclosed like stadium. But the Bills should probably look to invest in that, even Seattle, because it does snow in Seattle too. So
yeah, I don't know.
It's funny you say that. The Bills are actually building a new stadium right now, and it's also not indoors. They're still keeping it outside. So I think silly. So like when you have these kind of games, it really shows who are like the diehard hardcore fans and who are like the casual fans, right?
I don't think that's true. I think it shows what fans are dumb and don't have a brain cell, and they're going to go and sit in that. That's so unfair, because if I was a diehard fan, I wouldn't go and sit in the cold and risk my health and be uncomfortable. Like that's the thing. I'm not comfortable in that weather, so I'm not going to enjoy the game. So I don't think, like, don't come for the diehard fans. They were smart and sitting with their nachos at home.
I don't know. I think, like, if you're there, like, you obviously have a lot of passion about the Bills. You want to see them win, and they did win. You know, like, if you've never been to a Bills game before, you're a diehard Bills fan, you got to see them win in the playoffs. So obviously the conditions are terrible. Tickets were pretty cheap, though. So that's another thing. If you ever can't really afford to go to a game, it's pretty cheap. So I would argue that anyone in Bills Mafia that's at that game, you're a true diehard Bills fan.
They're crazy.
Forget what she's saying about delusional.
I saw Canada qualify for the World Cup, and I still have PTSD. So we went to Costa Rica to cover it, because if Canada had won in Costa Rica, they would have qualified for the World Cup. So we were like, yes, 30 degrees, beautiful outdoor stadium. They lose to Costa Rica. They had no business losing that game. So then we had to come back here, BMO Field, January, or rather, was it? No, it was March. Sorry, it was March. It was March of 2021. And it was like -30. And I remember I had to do a hit after outside. And my face was frozen to the point where people were messaging me about the hit, asking me what was wrong, because I looked fucked up, because I was literally like this. I was running to the washroom during the game to stand under the heaters. Like, this is not enjoyable. Like, I can't, the PTSD I have from this shit. I saw the Bills. I was like, not for me. No, thank you. Have fun in the snow.
I have a question. If Inter Miami played in BMO with TFC and Messi was there and the weather was like -20, would you still go?
Play. Messi would play.
No. Hypothetical, right?
Probably not. I'm not spending $1,000. I've seen Messi play in Barcelona.
I'm giving you a free ticket. I'm giving you a free ticket, VIP seat, but it's still cold.
If it's free, I'd go, and if it's too cold, I'd leave. But like, I'd be fine with that, because I've seen Messi and Ronaldo play each other at the Camp Nou in Barcelona. I've seen Messi play like 5 times. I've seen him play for his real true heart, which is Barca. So I feel like that's a bit of I don't necessarily have to see him play here. But
Celine, would you see, like, what's the coldest temperature you'd watch, like a Leafs game or a team that you're super passionate about in?
None. No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When
No.
you can't enjoy the game, it's different.
But it's part of the experience. Like
it's not. It ruins the experience. The experiences should be hot. It should be like a summer night. The sun should be going down in an open stadium, and you have the football or whatever you're watching, and you're like, this is beautiful. You shouldn't be like freezing, face frozen, hands can't beer like, no.
Last year I did that. I'm not even a Bills fan. I went to the Bills-Bengals divisional playoffs. It was like minus, I think 15. It wasn't crazy. It was snowing the whole game. If you go back and watch that game, it was the game that there was all the snow coming down. And it was my first NFL game ever. It was my pretty good game. It was in the playoffs. And that was one of the best days of my life because it was so much fun. The cold was a problem. Like you did at the Toronto or Canada game. I was in the bathroom at halftime just by the dryer, just trying to stay warm.
It's
but
it's not for me.
When I look back on it, would I do it again in that weather? No. But do I regret it? No.
But you know who does do it in that weather? Like every year? The Leafs. When playoff comes around. Because what's it called? What's it? Maple Leaf Square.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, standing in the square too. Yeah, that's tough one.
Such a good one. Oh my God. When it's Jurassic Park, it's so great because it's like so much later in the year, and it's like
different. Yeah. And because it's April too, so you would think, April, it's gonna be nice. It's never.
No, man. April's a winter month. Don't let them tell you otherwise.
Exactly. It's always cold. So I remember last year having to go there and cover some of the games. I'm like, they're freezing my ass off. I'm like, I'm not having fun doing this. I just want to watch it from a bar, from my couch. Like, I don't enjoy it. Although, what I will say is when we made it to round 2, that was fun. I feel like because everybody's adrenaline was all high and so many people around that it was warmer, but it really wasn't that warm. But that was the only time that was acceptable for that couple minutes that we were waiting for that to happen. But other than that, no, it's too freaking cold.
Yeah,
that's fair. Fortunately, if right now, as of recording, which is before divisional round, San Francisco. Nice hot place to play. So that's one of the playoff destinations. And then Detroit has an indoor stadium. So they're pretty prepared for the weather. But then on the AFC side, you have Buffalo, who same game. They're going to have a game this weekend in the same weather. Fans will come out, same thing. And then Baltimore, which I believe is also pretty cold too, would have home field. So pretty cold outdoor weather on the AFC side. Guys. But if you're in the NFC, get a little bit of a warmer day, unless Green Bay wins, and then you're in Green Bay. So it should be interesting, but I do want to talk. I know we record before the games happen, but I do want to talk about one thing with the NFL playoffs. We've joked on here about this before. The NFL's scripted, the NFL's rigged, blah, blah, blah. You can't tell me the NFL playoffs aren't scripted with the storylines we've had in some of these matchups. So wild card weekend, we had the Rams versus the Lions, Stafford versus Goff, two guys that got traded for each other. Then we had the Dolphins versus the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, one of the best players to ever put on a Chiefs uniform, making his return to Kansas City in the playoffs. You had the Cowboys, whose head coach used to be the head coach of Green Bay and got dummied by Green Bay. And then this week, you have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Texans. CJ Stroud, rookie quarterback of the Texans. The first game he ever played in football was against the Ravens. So who's he playing in the playoffs? The Ravens. And then you have Jordan Love and the Packers taking on San Francisco. Jordan Love, California born and raised. Would you believe he's playing a game in California? Obviously it's not scripted, but how do these outcomes always happen where we have these storyline driven matchups that you could practically write? It bothers me. I come on here and I joke about it being scripted and I get a lot of flack for it. But you look at these games and you can't tell me there isn't some element of scripting to get these storylines every time.
It's poetic, I guess.
If you have the script, please send it to me. If you have the script, send me a copy and I'll go bet on Sports Interaction the actual games happening. But right now, you can't tell me it's not scripted the way the NFL playoffs have played out from a storyline and narrative perspective.
Okay,
that's all I'll say.
No. I'll say one quick thing. I think that if the Kansas City Chiefs win, then it's really scripted.
Because of Swift?
Yeah.
Yep. You know how much revenue Taylor Swift has brought into
that would suck.
NFL? You know how many viewers have increased by 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all
female. Because all these Swifties are watching for her.
They watch the game for those 5 or 6 times during the game. They pan to her in the box.
Take this in. If let's just say Casey wins, what's it called? Kelsey's gonna go up to go hold the trophy, and I can guarantee you.
of course.
You are
It's
so
gonna be there.
freaking right.
We talked about it on here for Super Bowl halftime. If Chiefs are in the playoffs, you think Taylor Swift does something with Usher? I got shit on for that take, but
Yeah,
it
you're
seems
effed.
you
No
know I don't
chance.
even know if the Chiefs
She
make the
doesn't need
Super
to.
Bowl.
She's already
but
given them more money than any halftime show probably already.
Also,
No, she doesn't need to.
Usher and Taylor Swift don't. They don't. That's not. No. There's.
it's
Yeah,
more
yeah,
just like
no,
the
no.
spectacle of having
Don't
her
ruin
there.
Usher's set. Leave him
Yeah,
alone.
don't do that.
Leave him alone. We got to get out of here, though. We got to go to some UFC.
So whatever you think's gonna happen in the playoffs, whether you think it's the Chiefs, whether you think it's the Niners, whether you think it's the Ravens, go bet it on Sports Interaction. We got great odds. We got some great props, same game parlays, everything you need. We have for NFL playoffs, and we do got to get out of here. We got to go cover the UFC 297 press conference.
Sir.
So Celine, once again, I appreciate you from joining despite the weather conditions. I like having you on here because whenever I'm doubting the Leafs, you always seem to spin it in a direction that makes me feel a little bit better about it. Because Sarah, she dunks on the Leafs, but I think Celine has a bit more of a positive lens on what we're talking
on the Leafs
about.
today. Don't even
I was
lie.
gonna say I don't think I was positive about them today, but
It's the Delulu Huda. I'm telling you, man.
I think I'm a little more delusional with you. You're more realistic, and Sarah just doesn't like the Leafs.
No, I'm just the most realistic and logical one here.
But I don't want to hear. I want to hear a little bit of delusion, but a little bit realistic.
There you go.
Celine, we appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah, thank you, Celine.
We appreciate everyone watching. Make sure to follow us all. Sports Interaction, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Follow us all as well. And we will see you next week.
Talking shit.